we're going to be examining the process of the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. The goal of this experiment is to compare the initial rates of the reaction using two different catalysts. This will be done to see the difference in how much effect the catalyst has on the decomposition reaction in regards to speed and effectiveness. To understand this process a little more, a decomposition reaction is when a reactant is broken down into two or more substances, such as oxygen and water. Usually these types of reactions are endothermic, meaning that they need energy for the reaction to occur. Collision theory states that for a reaction to even occur, the atoms and molecules must first collide with each other, occurring when there is enough energy. Of course, the rate at which this occurs differs from reaction to reaction. There are 5 factors that can affect a reaction rate. These being temperature, concentration, pressure, surface area, and catalyst. Catalyst allows for more particles to meet by lowering the reaction energy, providing another method that requires less energy. The initial rate is basically the change that occurs at the beginning of the reaction involving the concentration of either the product or the reactant. The slope of the tangent line is going to measure the rate of the production of oxygen at the highest point of the reaction. The way that the pressure that is caused by the production of oxygen is going to be measured in this experiment is by using a linear gas pressure sensor. This is also going to help us get the initial rate. In the video, we're only going to be showing the iron trichloride part of the experiment and not the part where we use potassium iodide as a catalyst, because we just don't have time. So we're going to be using the exact same materials, and it should be at a similar temperature. The first part of the experiment involves the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide using the potassium iodide catalyst. So today we're going to do the iron chloride instead today. Okay? So as I said before, we're going to use it's going to be exactly the same except for the catalyst. So we're going to use 40 milliliters of distilled water, 15 milliliters of 3% H2O2, and then 5 milliliters of 0.5 moles of iron 3 chloride. Over here, we're going to be setting the stir bar to 7. We found out from the last experiment using the potassium iodide catalyst that if it's to like speed of 8, it's going to splash everywhere, and if it's lower, we're going to get a shallow slope. Right now, I'm going to take the temperature of the solution and set everything up for data collection. As you can see here, the stopper connectors are tightly secured to the stopper so that all the oxygen that will be produced during the decomposition reaction will not escape the flask, creating pressure. Here you can see this is the gas pressure sensor that we are going to use to measure the increase of pressure during the reaction once I add the iron 3 chloride. First, I'm going to start the stir bar to 7, and then as I add the iron 3 chloride, the stir bar is going to evenly distribute throughout the hydrogen peroxide solution, which will give us more accurate data. As the catalyst decomposes the hydrogen peroxide, bubbles will start forming right here, if you can see it. If you take a closer look to the graph, we can see that the pressure is starting to increase. as time goes on. Eventually, as the reaction continues, more and more hydrogen peroxide will be decomposed, and less oxygen will be produced, eventually leading to the conclusion of the reaction. Once the data is collected, the data collection is complete, we will find the linear region of the graph and find the highest slope, which will be our initial rate. The results for the experiment just done was the average initial rate of 0.189. The experiment with potassium iodide as a catalyst was an average initial rate of 0.138. As you can see, the iron 3 chloride was supposedly a better catalyst since it has a bigger number for the initial rate, meaning it decomposed the hydrogen peroxide faster. I'll show you the graph right now to see the comparisons. You can see here that this is for one of the trials using the iron 3 chloride as the catalyst. It's pretty steep. And over here you can see, I was not able to take a picture of the potassium iodide experiment, but you can see it was I did notice it was a little less steep than the iron 3 chloride. So you can see through the graph that yes, there's a difference between the iron 3 chloride and the potassium iodide. A reason for the better results for the iron 3 chloride might be due to how the iron 3 chloride interacted with the peroxide, creating a more reactive intermediate. That might just be a reason for why it helped decompose the hydrogen peroxide better. The percent RSD were pretty good, with the iron 3 chloride experiment having a 3.5% RSD and the experiment with the potassium iodide having a 5.5, which both are good because they're under 10%. The temperature for both experiments were pretty similar, which was like a 1 degree difference. So everything was everything was kept the same pretty much, so that's to get more accurate data on that. It was very interesting to see the difference between the two catalysts and how they affected the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide. And I would like to see and study it a little more and get more data on that. Well, with that concludes the video.